that we were in Panama. So that is our group up there. We didn't just go on a plane and go somewhere and say we were.
Get some really cool t-shirts.
Yeah, so. And there's another picture of us. So that was in Old Panama, Old City, Panama, where they had a monastery and missions, and that's kind of the ruins there. So we'll kind of start with that. You want to go first or me? You want me to go?
Well, the week started, we flew in on Saturday, right? Saturday? It's been a long time ago. And so the first day we got to go to a church service there, and then they're like, okay, this is the only time you're going to get to go shopping. Get it all done today. And so we got a chance to go on Sunday, but we haven't even experienced any of Panama, and they're like, get all your shopping done now. So this is where we're still really happy and relatively rested and pleasant.
I didn't put a picture of what we looked like yesterday up there, so it didn't look like this. So that first day, Sunday, we get there. We have training in the morning. Then we go to church, which our missionary, Tim, said he asked the pastor to not go as long as he normally goes. So by 1 or 1:30, we were finally out of there. But he said, yeah, it could go on and on and on and on. So then we did our little bit of shopping, and then we came back and had more training. So that was kind of how that day went. But as far as...
I have a story.
Okay, go ahead.
First day. So we're listening to a sermon in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. So we were blessed with translators throughout the week, and specifically on this day in church with somebody just in the church service that's bilingual that came over and sat with us and shared the sermon like on a 10-second delay. But she was wonderful, and before the sermon started, I had this feeling like, what am I going to get out of this today? I can't even understand him. There's 3 words I know in Spanish, but that was a blessing to see. The sermon spoke to me because God orchestrated it. The Holy Spirit, it was okay, this is me speaking to you, even though you don't understand this language. And it talked about all the things that I had prepared for this week, what my testimony would be if I got to share that with somebody, and the verses that I would use if I got to share with somebody. And it was all about, because of his great love, we do not perish. New mercies I receive each morning. Great is thy faithfulness, from Lamentations 3:22 and 23. And it talks about, the point of the sermon was back to the theme. I would have shared if I would have had a chance to share my testimony that day at church, was God is faithful. He pursues us. He demonstrates his love for us. The pastor said, Pastor Alex, God demonstrates his love for us because Christ died for us. And that was just wow, God, even in this other language, you're speaking to me in this sermon that I didn't even know that could happen.
Okay, so I'm going to go through a list of a few things. One of the questions that Pastor Robert sent us this morning, some ideas of what to share, was, what did we really expect to get from this? What was our expectations? What was our hope to see from this? And I've been on one other mission trip. I was in high school when I went, and I knew that no matter what I expected was not going to be at all what would come from that. And so going in, I knew that I expected to help, but that was not going to be the point. And that was really kind of what came from it. It wasn't about how did we help them. It was what the work that God was doing in us, in each of us, and what he was showing with us. Some of the ways that we did that. I'm going to give you just a brief schedule. Basically, Monday through Thursday, we got up, and there was a ministry waiting for us to do. It was either, I have my list here, it was either teaching English. They said, here, we're going to put you in groups, and you go teach English to these people. What do you want us to teach? I don't know. Just teach them something, they'll be happy. Okay. So Robert was in my group for that particular one. He's like, you're the teacher, right? Yeah. Go right ahead. No, he worked with me too. So I started to write some stuff on the board, and he goes, you don't really have that elementary teacher writing, do you? I said, no, I teach high school. So he started doing more writing on the board than mine. Mine isn't that great. So, but the first class didn't go as well as necessarily we wanted. It's not that it was bad, but for a teacher who really wants to prepare, if you go teach something, that didn't go well. The whole week was like that. hey, I'm not going to tell you much about what you're going to do until we get done with that, and then you can focus on the next thing the Lord has for you. And that's very tough for anybody that is a planner or wants to do, do a good job at it. So I struggled the first few, because we did 4 different English classes there, and then we did another one at another place, and I struggled with that until the end of the week. And the end of the week, the last one was really good. There's some pictures I have of, I don't have all of them up there, but just some of the people that we met. But our ministry, we got up and we did some street ministry, and then we did some ministry with teaching English, and then we worked with kids, and we did an after-school program. We went to an orphanage, and that's just 5. But I
And
think
then we talked to strangers.
We talked to strangers. So I think I'm going to talk. You want to go in? Or you want me
Yeah.
to?
Which one are you?
I want to talk about that night ministry.
Oh, yeah, I'll do the other one first.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of pictures. What's the next one, Matt
I got it.
or Grace?
There. I got it.
That's yours. Okay, I'll let you go. I'll go. Never mind. Yep. Okay, so there's a picture later. It says Metro.
Yep, there.
Yeah, we rode that a lot. That was the picture before that was Lois and I. That was walking probably one of our 30 to 40 miles of walking in 99% humidity at 95 degrees. So we had the opportunity the first day. We hit the ground running. They're like, okay, let's go split into groups and go talk to people. And I'm like, what do we say? What do I do? Hal and I were together. Anybody knows Hal? We're just chatty people, me and Hal. And so there was a third person in our group, Pastor Greg from California. Greg was a lovely man. I didn't see much of him. He went on his own, like all the time. We're like, where's Greg? Where's Greg? And we were blessed with Rodrigo. Everybody had translators. We had 6 translators that week that were either high school to college, and they were bilingual kids that could just relay the message. And so we get Hal and I's group. They're like, okay, you guys are going to ride the subway to, I can't remember which stop, Santo Thomas, and then you're going to get off and go to the hospital. And I'm like, and then what? And this is the first day, and I am not a stranger talker person.
First day, first ministry.
Boom.
Go up to people, start talking to them.
So Hal and I were blessed. Rodrigo was like, okay, this is where if you want to talk to somebody, talk to him. He's like, this is what you need to do. Okay. So we were blessed with our very first interaction was with a lady. And they're like, well, you just introduce yourself and just get to talk to him. And so I'm like, hi, we're here from the United States. Can we talk to you? And Rodrigo would be, and he'd say that for us. And then my brain was like, okay, I got to get to the point, I guess. Do you know Jesus? That's my next question. And thank the Lord she did. She did, and she talked. She shared with us about her family. She was there getting ready to give blood, and so she's eating like melon to get her blood sugar up, and so she wouldn't pass out. And so she just shared with us that she's like, yeah, my family and I, we go to church. We've known Jesus as a personal relationship for 8 years, and she just shared how it's hard in this world with all the temptations and the internet and all of these things around us to follow God, but with God's help we can. And so that was a wonderful first interaction. I had one later in the week that was really awesome as well, and this was my most feared thing that we were doing. Like, I was going to throw up, you know. So it was just such a blessing, and so I don't know where we're going next.
Yeah, I'll go next. Okay. So another ministry that we did, Lainey talked about just going up to people. We could either discuss with them, try to just have a conversation with them. That was not as exciting for me. I didn't have any cool interactions. I did, being a history teacher, I know that the culture in Latin America it's all about Catholicism, and that is the only way to go. So we did get to see a couple of churches as we walked by. You could see it's all about Mary. I mean, they have baby Jesus, and then there's Mary. And so it's really difficult for us to understand, and we're like, where's Jesus in this? And he's kind of part of the story. That's about it. So when I was passing out tracts for the church about, hey, here's this church, I had several people say, Catholic, and like go away and like hand them back to me. So that was difficult. But one of my most exciting points was we did a conversational English class, It wasn't really a class. It was a group of people who are studying English. And so they have a club. And in their club, they just come and they have whoever come in and just practice English. So that was really easy. You just could say whatever you wanted, and they're listening and they're discussing. So somehow in this whole thing, I got to find Hector on here. Yeah, there's Hector. Hector was one of the guys in my group. And Hector, they all have great stories, but he talked about what he was doing, and he's a psychologist, but he needs to learn English so he can have other patients and whatnot. And then Hector just all of a sudden goes, "Tell me your testimony." And this wasn't even something biblical we were doing. This is just trying to help others learn English and open the door. And the guy that leads it is a pastor's son, and once he gets to know them, then he invites them to the Bible study, and it just sets everything up. So we're like, oh, okay. And then he told us his testimony, and then we got to go around. There were 3 English, Americans in there, and then there were 3 Panamanians in there. And so that was great that we got to tell that story. So, and then the other ministry I want to focus on, I'm going to go back to so there's Lainey. This was an orphanage, and we couldn't take pictures of their faces, but this is a special needs orphanage, and what you find in other countries around the world, if there is an orphanage with special needs children, they don't really know what to do with them. They don't have the resources. They don't have the information, the knowledge. So most of the time, they're just confined to their beds, and that's it. And this is a special place, and we have a gazillion pictures of this, but where they got to, we basically, Lainey and I got to play with the kids. For 3 hours, we played with the kids. Robert and Wyatt, they got to do
Sweat
hard
some
manual
more.
labor for the orphanage. And then I think Hal and Lois did a hospitality room for the workers that are there. So we had a lot of different things that we did. The ministry that I'm going to talk about that impacted me most was, it was a street ministry, and that kind of freaked me out for a little bit, but it was a ministry in the evening, and we went to, we met at a police station, and there was this girl named Ellie, and Ellie just had on her heart he said, we got to help people. I am stuck in this church, and we're comfortable, and this is all wonderful and great, but why aren't we helping other people? He said, we get comfortable. This is the part that impacted me most, was we get comfortable where we are, and we have our church family, and we're happy, and this is great, but what are we doing to save the lost? What are we really doing? And so she said, let's go do something. So she has a friend at the police station, and we walked basically at night. We did prayer walking in the afternoon of that area, but in the evening, we divided into 2 groups. And one group went and focused on homeless, passing out coffee and some sandwiches and praying for them. And another group, which was the one that they put Lainey and I in, focused on talking to prostitutes. And that was way out of my comfort zone as well. But it was amazing to me what God did in my heart, because if I would think about it beforehand, I would be kind of scared about it and just uncomfortable. But as soon as we got to that spot and we prayed to go where we needed to go, I was just on fire. I was like, let's go. And it didn't matter what we went up to a homeless guy, and I prayed with him, and he actually spoke a little bit English, so that was kind of an icebreaker for me. And we went and we started out by talking to prostitutes, which as we walked away, found out they were actually transvestites, and they were men. I could have guessed, I didn't really know, but talked about how different things that they had, and we prayed with them. And the last one that broke my heart was, we went up to 4 ladies, and they were standing there, and they knew the lady, Ellie, who goes and does this weekly. And they knew her, and they gave her a hug, and I was right up there, and our translator was telling us what they were saying. And one of them was pregnant, and they talked about how they didn't want to do this, but the dads are in jail or not involved, and this is the only job they can get. And so we prayed for them, and I prayed for one of them, and we were both crying, and how we prayed that there was a job opportunity for them so they could feed their kids and how they could get off the streets. So That was the most impactful thing for me. The ministry that I thought I would just, okay, let's do it and go on. Because there were some ministries I'm like, okay. I said to Robert, 85 minutes left in this class. We can do this. That we were just trying to, not that I wanted to get it over with, but it was a difficult time. But that opened my eyes to what is it that I can do here. So, okay.
My prayer before, because I keep a journal, which by the end of the week did not get us full because you wake up, you do stuff all day, and you go to bed, and that's all you have time to do. Lord, I am excited for this week. This was before. Use me even in my weakness. And he did. What else do we have? So we have a bazillion more stories, but if we kept going, it would turn into a Latin church, and you would not get home till 4. Yes. So this was a great picture of, Wyatt got to play with some kids. We went to an after-school tutoring program, and we just helped them with their homework, and then we went and played soccer and gave them piggyback rides, and it was just a blessing to see. So Wyatt was like my little brother this week because he's about the same age as Lainey, and so it was so fun to see the excitement that he had and the experiences that he got to see in this world. And when he shares, he'll share good stuff. We rode in a bus a lot. This is a nice bus. I think we need these buses in the U.S. But we crammed in there and had a good time traveling to lots of places. What else? There's the bus. Robert, do you want to tell them the name of our bus? The Funky Gringo. We had lots of songs about the Funky Gringo. And then, so we're going to end with a video that I took video and pictures, and it's just like a short minute, and it kind of gives you an idea of like, this is what they did, this is what they saw. And please come talk to us, or if we have another event where like, this is Panama 2018, come talk to us. Come talk to us.
Okay, let me say one more thing.
Okay,
one more thing. Whenever we had lunch, we kind of all sat at different tables, and we got to know these people. And one of the things that is always, I've experienced this, this is my second mission trip, and the first time on the flight over there, you're excited, and then you get almost there, and you're like, what am I doing? I want to go home right now. That was the same. I didn't tell her that because I didn't want to freak her out. But she probably would have. But that was the same thing happened to me this time. It happened when I went to Mexico City years ago, and this time I'm almost there, and I'm like, I want to go home, I want to go home, I'll go home. But I don't say anything. I just keep praying through it. And then by the time you get to the end of the week, you're like, I don't want to go home. I want to stay here and help. I want to do this. So knowing that these people that we met, as we greeted them, Tim was the missionary down there, and we had a conversation, and he talked about how he was called to be a missionary. And he talked about everything that he saw. They adopted a baby in China, and he was in the corporate world for like 16 years, and then they went there and they saw the lostness of the world. And I said, you know what's interesting? And when I was younger, I felt like I was, God had something, he has something special for everybody, but God has something special for me to do. And I thought, I don't even know what it is, if it's missions, it's what. And so when I got to be in college, and I was picking a major, I started with computer science, which I don't know why, but I ended up being a teacher. And it felt like God was calling me to do that so that I would have my summers to do short-term mission or have more time with that. And I talked to Tim, and he talked about how he saw lostness of the world. I said, you know what? It just reminds me of, as I'm teaching, it's a whole different situation, but I feel like I see the lostness of the world every day because I see what kids are going through. And I said, I really feel like that's my mission field. So, and as we left, as we greeted and we hugged everybody, and several of them, there's an older couple. By the way, there was a couple that was there that had been married for 66 years. 61 years, sorry. 61 years. Okay, so if you think you're too old, you're not. You can still go. And they still walked, and they did all of that. But they, I hugged Ted. That was the guy. He was the husband. Ted was awesome. And he said, if I don't see you again on earth, I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you in heaven. And so there were several people we did that to. And it, at first it's kind of like, oh, but it's like, no, this is exciting. This is exciting. And so that was the excitement.